everybody. We are back. It is Tuesday, Leading Through Crisis with Julie and I, Mary Beth Olive. And we have brought some fabulous people today to interview and really kind of follow a little bit along their journey and what they have going on now. So first and foremost, I'd like to introduce Holly Prescott, formerly known as Holly Perry. And I did do a little research on my darling over there. She's got quite a history in the industry from 1983 and into the commercial real estate. And then she get back into the residential. She's been a team leader. She's a MAPS coach, KWU master faculty. She took the 24 topics, which was recruiting by the book, on the road. That's when I first met her in 2008. She's been a dear friend and a lovely mentor to me the last 16 years of my journey. So thank you so much, Holly Prescott, for being here.
Thank you, Mary Beth, for inviting us.
Thank you.
I just love you. You really impacted me. And her husband, John Prescott. Julie?
So John, I don't know if you remember, the first time you and I ever really spent any time together was you were my technology coach in, I believe it was 2007, when I was new as a team leader launching a market center. So that's how we got introduced. And then I remember you made me sign up for the subscription. You know, that was kind of new back then, I believe. And so you had me sign up for the books that came every month. And from there, our relationship has grown. We both serve on the KW Cares Board of Directors, and so we've gotten to know each other more. So we just love you guys, and we're so happy that you've joined us. Mary Beth.
And we will hear a little bit more about John and his journey, because he's got something super exciting to announce and kind of introduce to us so that we can get really excited about what we're going to be doing in May. So,
and Beth, before you get started, I just want to let our viewers know that I'm posting a poll right now. I'd like to know how many people are registered for Bold Pivot. And please feel free to go ahead and respond. Absolutely, you've registered, you wouldn't miss it for the world. 2, you haven't registered. Or 3, what the heck is Bold Pivot? So I'll be watching our answers as we go. And then also, if the viewers have any questions throughout this, we'll have them put them in the chat, and at the end we'll follow up with them.
Great.
I love that. What the heck is Bold Pivot?
Well, so far,
very honest if they check number 3.
Yeah. All right,
we are looking for honesty.
Let's get us going.
Yeah. So Holly, I would love for you to share a bit about your journey. I know you've opened in multiple market centers. You were a team leader after being a real estate agent, as I spoke about before. KW Master Faculty is something that I've seen you shine in, and yet I know that you weren't just born there. So I would love to see if you could just share a little bit about your journey.
Wow. Well, I joined Keller Williams in '99, and I'm embarrassed to say that I'd like to say that I was 10 when I joined Keller Williams, but obviously you've already said I'm 83, I was in real estate. Anyway, but I joined Keller Williams in '99 as a team leader in Flower Mound, Texas. Was there for 6 years. Back in '99, it was Keller Who. So it was quite a journey. We had to build an office from like about 22 until when I left in 2006. Actually, it was 2005. We were up to 250. So those were big offices then. 200.
Yeah.
The motto back then was just get to 100 as soon as possible. That was what our goal was get to 100. Well, of course, we've blown past that over the years. Then I moved to Vail, Colorado, and was part of the launch of Vail, Colorado. I was there for 3 years, had a wonderful run of that, played hard, skied hard, and then got the phone call, as you said, from Gary Kellers. And by the way, this is important to know, this was 2007 when he called. He said, Holly, he said, I need you to come out of the mountains and go on the road for a year and teach MREA. And I said, well, why, Gary? Everybody knows MREA. And he said, well, as Gary and his ability to see forward, he said, it's 2007. We're about ready to go into a shift. It's important that we bring our people back to the basics. And so in 2007, I spent 1 year traveling around the country and taught MREA. During that period of time, I met Mr. Prescott.
That would be me.
Yeah.
And decided that the only way this was going to work, I did stay for 1 more year after that as KW's designated trainer. And that was an interesting time because I got to participate in the writing of Shift. You know, you were talking about, you were reading the Shift. And I got to be involved in the masterminds. And I think what's important to know, and the reason Shift is so important for us to get back to it now, is because it was the basics of what the agents were doing during that shifting time at that point. Now, again, our shift is different now, but if you'll go back and look at Shift as you just did, you see it's really just getting back to the basics.
That's right.
Anyway, so then I met Mr. Prescott, decided if it was going to work, then I needed to go find out. And so I packed up, moved to North Carolina, became a team leader in Asheville, North Carolina. Now, somehow I went there to be with him. And then when I got there, about 2 weeks later, he announced he was going to be a bowl coach and get on the road. So somehow we were still going different directions. However, that was wonderful. 2.5 years as team leader there. And then thought I was going to sort of go into semi-retirement until the then beloved OP Mike Tavener of the region asked if I would create a training program, and I did, and it's called Carolina's Educational Services. It's now in Florida, it's now in California, and now my world is teaching. I became KW Master Faculty during that period of time, so it's been an incredible 20 years.
That's awesome.
Amazing. You mentioned a few things. I do want to point out that 2008 is when I met you on my first day on the job officially. You came to my market center. And when Holly speaks about the MREA, she's talking about the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. Most of us know that book. And I literally took everything that you shared with me. And this was before they had the tabbed book. And I literally tabbed everything you spoke about, I tabbed. And I want to tell you, it's because of you that I do believe a lot of agents that I've had the opportunity to lead have had a great understanding of our models and systems that are out of that book that are they're nothing fancy. They're just the models and systems that got those top producers to produce what they were producing. And so I thank you for shaping me as a leader with that book. And then our shift is what Holly was just referencing. And so if any of you are out there listening and you don't have these books, you can always go to Kellerinc, KELLERINK.com and pick up any of the resources that we're discussing here. So thank you for sharing your journey. Julie?
Great.
Holly, Mary Beth, I think your Facebook might be volume on. Just check that. Holly, you and I met when you were doing the tour, of course, Recruiting by the Book, and I want to go back. And when were you first introduced to the MREA on a high level? And I'd like to kind of hear that.
That's a great question, Julie, and I appreciate you asking that because in 1999, of course, like I said, I was a team leader in Flower Mound, Texas. And of course, Gary decided in 2000-ish, 2001 to start really studying the agents who were on the path to, by the way, grossing $1 million. That was a big deal in 99 and 2000, grossing $1 million. And so he called together a group of these people, and 3 of these agents were out of my market center in Flower Mound. And so I got to sort of participate through them, the first few masterminds that Gary created that were the foundation for the book. Well, then when he started writing the book, it became real clear to me that my number one responsibility as a team leader, because I had been in business for 15 years prior to that, but the extent of my team, I'd had a part-time assistant because back then you just didn't, that was a new thing. Having an assistant wasn't the norm. So everything that he was putting into this book, this whole development of team was really, charting new waters. And I was convinced that if I was going to really be of great service to my agents, since I had never done it, I better know that book.
That's right.
So when that book came out, I made the commitment. I'll never forget. I remember staying home one weekend and literally reading it cover to cover the whole weekend, making notes, putting tabs, because I felt it was my responsibility to be able to at least talk the talk. Yeah. I'd never walked the walk, but talk the talk. And so because of that, I was very excited, because I was then able to coach 2 of my agents at that time, and that ended up in the top 10 in the nation. And so the reason that I was so passionate about the book was because I, as a team leader, I knew it was the only way I was going to be valid to these top agents.
Absolutely. When agents or leadership are reading the book, what are some things that they should consider really to get the most out of it?
All right. Well, I when I teach business by the book, which is one of my favorite classes to teach, I tell people that the problem, here's what happens. You read up to page 172 and things go pretty quickly. Yeah. It's the basics, it makes sense. But at 172, all of a sudden now you jump from fundamental models into the millionaire real estate agent models. And all of a sudden the numbers start jumping up, and it gets a little bit more challenging. So, and what this is usually where people get stuck in the book. They stop there, or they kind of plow their way through it as best they can. And I tell people, look, if nothing else, go back and reread up to page 172 and master those models before you dive into the millionaire models, because it gets discouraging when you get into the big numbers. That's maybe for our agents who have not yet grossed $1 million. Now, for those who have already gone there and want to continue, the question I get all the time is, well, when is the new book coming out?
Yeah.
Well, we don't know. Gary answered the question once, and I thought it was funny. He said, when I believe everyone's mastered the first book.
Yeah.
But I want to go back and say, when the second book comes out, it's not going to be that different than the original MREA. The only thing that's different now is that when he wrote the original book, his goal was to help people gross $1 million. Well, now we have, oh my gosh, I think best we can figure out between 50 and 60 agents that have, grossed $3 million, $4 million. They've netted $1 million. So the only thing that's really going to change are the models, because now these teams are way bigger and much more intricate than they were when the original book was written. But the basics are still going to be the same.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I was going to say. The basics are the basics, and really they might change a few things. They might change a little bit of the conversion rates, and yet I believe the models are now not just to net $1 million. It's all the way down to give $1 million. So if we're not mastering the models, and if we don't have all those systems in place, then we don't need the second book yet.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, and to your point, that is something that helped me. I had never reached that type of volume either, and using that book as a leverage tool to coach your agents to get to 100,000, 500,000, just use the economic model backwards to whatever their goals were, was a tool that I absolutely embraced. So, the other thing is, you made me think about, remember there was a time where you never even saw 5 million in GCI. This year, we're seeing 24 million in GCI. But I remember when Bob Lucido had broke that threshold, I believe he went to the 10 million mark, or it was Ben Kinney or one of them. And it's just where our industry, the top people, where they're taking their business right now is unimagiable what was 10 years ago. So,
and by the way, in a relatively short period of time.
Yeah, it was like a hockey puck almost.
And it all started with MREA. It started with the Millionaire Real Estate Agent because I think Gary just gave us permission to think big, gave us permission and said, hey, you can take real estate to a whole different level. And people did it.
Yeah,
That's
So,
right.
yes.
awesome.
We
So
came a long way from when Danielle Kennedy, who was one of the great trainers of her time in my generation of selling real estate. And she said, get a farm area of 100 homes and go knock on their doors and you'll be highly successful.
Yep. And once social distancing passes, that still works, right? Still
That's
the
right.
basics.
Basic. It's the basics.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a good thing that MREA 2 hasn't come out until after COVID lifts, in that there's so many new things that have come just from this time, right? So as we speak of that,
The other thing I've heard Gary say in jest is MREA 2 will come out when things stop changing.
never.
Your
So
point's very well taken.
to that point is E to P. E to P, where we talk about entrepreneurial to purposeful, breaking through ceilings. On your journey, throughout your E to P journey, it sounds like, what were some of your hardest lessons that you had to learn, Holly? Leader to leader.
I would probably say that as a team leader, one of the hardest lessons I had to learn is that I could not want success for my agents more than they wanted it.
That's right.
I had this vision that I could just make everybody successful. If they just did what we told them to do, that they would all be successful. And I learned very quickly that not everybody will do that. Not everybody wants to do that. And all my responsibility is as a leader is to lead them to the tools that, should they decide to use those tools, they can take their business, but I can't do it for them. And that was hard for me because I'm a high I, and of course I'm a pleaser, and I wanted everybody happy and making lots of money. And that was probably one of the hardest lessons I had to learn my first couple of years as a team leader.
Yeah, discipline your disappointments, right? Discipline your disappointments.
True.
And I heard someone, I think it was Ben Kinney, saying we get disappointed with the expectations that we put on others.
That's right.
Right.
So,
Absolutely. I'd like to know what is one of the most impactful course or events that you've attended that has really changed you, whether it's contributed at a high level towards towards kind of helping you grow, or even just changed maybe the path that you were on.
well, Quantum Leap was the whole reason I joined the company.
Oh,
I
really?
I
didn't
have
know
to say that.
Okay.
I mean, when David Osborne started recruiting me, and I told him I was not interested at all. And he said, well, look, just go down to Austin, take this course with Gary Keller called Quantum Leap, and if you're still not interested, then I'll leave you alone, because he kept calling and calling. And, he was a good recruiter. So I went to Austin because I had family in Austin, and I said, okay, I'll go show up for the first hour and then I'll split, I'll make my appearance and then I'll leave. Well, I sat glued to my seat the entire day. And of course, as soon as I walked out the door, I said, I'm in. So, I've taken it numerous times since then. And I think that the reason that it's always so impactful is because it's about life skills. I mean, we can talk business all day long, but at the end of the day, it's about leading our life in the best way possible. And so I absolutely think everyone needs to take Quantum Leap at least once a year or as often as possible, or just, if nothing else, get the manual, go through the manual. But that is probably my number one favorite course. And then my number two favorite course, no surprise, because I've been able to teach it around the country, is Business by the Book, where we spend half a day going through the one thing, which of course was the third. I think that, Keller Williams has 3 operations manuals. And I think that all real estate agents, before they even talk to their first client, should be required to read 3 books: MREA, Shift, and The One Thing. And so Business by the Book, of course, has changed a lot of lives because we literally walk people through the book and we do exercises, and it's just had an impact on me. Every time I teach it, it convicts me. How do we master something? We teach it. So those are probably my two favorite courses.
Those are awesome. Thank you.
Love it. Can you share with us or identify, and I think I know this answer, but how you identify your next opportunity, or how you've realized that obviously teaching and education is very important. We see it now, but maybe it wasn't always clear. How did you decipher that?
All right. Well, two things. Number one, my role as team leader with Keller Williams is totally responsible for who I am today. It's responsible for this wonderful man. I mean, the role of the team leader is what just opened my world up. In terms of owning market centers, I don't think I really had that on my radar screen. I will always be indebted to David Osborne for that, because he was the one that introduced me to that opportunity. And of course, once I was able to incubate and launch one out of Flower Mound, then of course I got it in my blood. I thought that was fun, and so I continued doing that. Now the teaching journey is kind of interesting, and this is probably why I'm so passionate about teaching, train the presenter. When I became a team leader in Flower Mound, 2 weeks into my job as a team leader, Linda McKissick comes into my office with a stack of books, puts it across the table and says, "Here, create a training program." And I looked at her and I went, "What? No one ever said anything about teaching. You said I was supposed to manage the office and recruit and do all these things and whatever." And she says, "Oh no, you got to teach too."
I can imagine saying that.
I said, the extent of my teaching was swimming lessons in high school. That was it. So I was forced to teach my first class because David Osborne said, teaching is easy if you teach to your passion. So my first class was Dress for Success, because the only thing I could think of I was passionate about back then was my clothes, and yet.
That's what you taught, right?
Did you teach that class? Because I could picture you putting that right on the calendar.
It was because we didn't have classes like Ignite. We didn't have any of that in '99. You had to make up all your own stuff. So I taught a class called Dress for Success, and I taught the concept of the power of the black jacket. Because I believe if you wear a black jacket with anything, it dresses it up. Look at you. Absolutely. Your black jacket with your bold shirt.
Oh, my light went somewhere. It's cloudy here.
And about 2 weeks after I had 6 people show up. I was so excited. Anyway, one of my students, about 2 weeks after that class, came running up to me and said, "Holly, I just got my first listing and I'm convinced it's because of my black jacket."
Oh, that's great.
Because after the class, she'd gone out, bought a black jacket, put it on as she walked into the listing appointment, felt so good. And so at the end of the day, I said, okay, I can do this. And of course, now this is pretty much all I do is teach. And of course, my favorite class to teach now, really, in terms of helping others, is Train the Presenter, to try to help other people develop their training skills. So,
which I love you for. She's a very honest lady.
We're gonna get you there, don't you worry.
Yeah.
Through and John, I promise we're coming to you. Just a couple more for Holly, and we'll get there. Holly, through your what are some of the hardest lessons, I would say, and yet sweetest success that you have encountered breaking through your ceiling, which I'm sure you probably have had to a few times?
Wow. All right. So I would say, other than having to let go of trying to save everyone and making sure everybody was successful, I think one of the hardest things that I had to learn to do is to understand that not everybody's going to agree with what I do and what I say. That a leader has got to stick to the principles that they believe are right, no matter who agrees or doesn't agree. It's all really about what you believe within yourself. And that was hard for me because, as a team leader, we want to make everybody happy, but at the end of the day, we have to make decisions for the greater good, not just the individuals. And so that was hard for me. I can remember going home a few times crying, because someone came screaming in my office saying, "I can't believe we're doing such and such, blah, 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 blah," and I would take it personally and take it home. And it was just ripped. I'm sure you two can relate to that, ripped our hearts out. The interesting thing is the one particular incident I can remember was in Flower Mound. And I'd been on the job maybe about 30 days, and one of the top agents came in and said, you are going to be, I can't believe they hired you as a team leader. You are just too soft, blah, blah. I mean, he had nothing good to say to me because of something, I can't remember what all the situation was. When I left 6 years later, he cried at my going away party and said to me, he said, "Holly," he said, "I remember that first month you were there." And he said, "And the good news is you never held it against me." He said, "I was an absolute jerk." And he said, "And I want you to know you've been a fabulous team leader." So again, sometimes you just got to know that at the end, it all comes out in the end, but boy, in the beginning, it can be tough.
It can. It really can. Yeah. I know that mindset is really important. Mindset for you and health is really important. It's something that you have, kind of encouraged me as well in last year. How do you stay accountable to that? What's your routine? And the both of you, because you both look fantastic. So what is the secret to the accountability to your health and wellness?
Well, I'm going to give my husband a lot of credit for that, because he is much more accountable to his health than I am. I mean, he does not eat sugar. And of course, I love to pop that dark chocolate every now and then, but he has been a huge influence in the way we eat. He eats clean, he eats healthy. So I guess we are accountable to each other on that. So that's real. And of course we're both, we like to exercise. We both enjoy that. Our gym has now turned into a studio. So it's a little tougher getting to my treadmill, but we sort of push each other on that. I have had trainers over the years. I'm currently not with one, but I intend, as soon as we get where we can leave our home, to get one back. I'm a huge advocate allowing someone outside of you, because I'll get on the treadmill all day long. I just won't necessarily do the resistance training. So, I mean, I think.
And how important is it to surround yourself with great people and great conversations? How has that impacted your life?
Well, when John and I got married, I said to John, I want to ask you one favor. I said, I want to hang out with happily married people. Very nice. Anyway, I've had a few failures in that element of my life, and this one I'm not messing up. And I said, quite frankly, I said, I think the way that we can keep our marriage strong is to hang around people who aren't necessarily perfect, but are solid in their marriage. And so, because that's the most important thing to me right now, even over and above business, I think who you hang out makes all the difference in the world.
Sure does.
Awesome.
I love that.
Yeah,
that actually kind of launches us into a question that I have for both of you. We have husband and wife teams in our office. How do you guys maintain that work and then life balance, or counterbalance, I should say, because you're both in the industry, you're both with the same company. I know in my kitchen and my dinner table, I'm talking about real estate, and my husband's not in the business. My stepdaughter knows she probably could list a house right now if she wanted to. I hear my husband reciting scripts when he's talking to his friends about the market and what's going on right now. So I can't imagine, if he was in the industry as well, what that would look like and how we'd ever get some balance.
Go for it.
Well, I believe first off, it's a great question. I think you got to truly care about what the other person's business is, what they're doing. Even though we're in the same business, we work for the same company, totally different roles. I mean, Holly owns a training company, and she has 30 something instructors, and she sold her operation in the Carolinas, and then a person up there has about the same. And so you know, Holly's whole world is about these instructors and them performing at a high level. Now we've got that in common because I'm over the bowl coaches. And so my whole job is to make sure the bowl coaches are delivering the material at a high level. So we both have that in common. Yet one thing I think about Holly and I is no matter what business we had, we love each other so much and we care so much about what each other's doing and how each other succeeds. We would want to learn about that, right? So we would want to be asking questions. We love to cook. So when we get home at night, both of us, whether we're on the road or we get home and we've been on the road for a few days, we love to have Blue Apron, and it comes right to our house, and you know, we're chopping and we're having a little glass of wine or a little tequila, and we do that together. And then as we're doing that, we're also talking about our day and you know, what challenges we're having. And it's great because we're both coaches. And so lots of times she's coaching me and lots of times I'm coaching her. And it's usually around just asking questions, right? And so I would say that's
yeah. The other thing too is, and of course this year is kind of, we had a little diversion on this, but we always have a vacation planned. We always have something to look forward to. You know, I would say we're probably pretty good at a trip once a quarter, even if it's a long weekend. We always know that there's going to be something where the two of us are going to be together at least for a while, and where we can just totally shut off. And that just kind of, you know, John came in last night and he said, I'm ready for another cruise. I wish this would hurry up and get over. Yeah. Again, we always have something to look forward to.
Well, Mary Beth, I noticed behind you, before your lights got dark, you had a calendar back there. And so I learned this about, I don't know, 4 years ago, Holly. We took out a calendar, and I teach this in Bold, and we took out a calendar. And so we color coded the times that I had to be someplace for Keller Williams International, which is Family Reunion Mega Camp Masterminds, right? And then I put that in one color. That color happens to be red. Those are non-negotiables, right? And then the next thing I did is I went back and I blocked out the days that I would actually be on the road teaching Bold or checking on Bold coaches, and I put that in a different color. Then Holly's training, she would text me and say, okay, I'm accepting this assignment. I'm going to be at these days. And we put hers for the whole year, January through December, in red. That was, we're not together.
I was green, I think. No, different color. Anyway, whatever.
So anyway, blue was us. It was family time, is us doing something together. And so I remember that first year I did that, I looked at that calendar, that big calendar, January through December, and I go, we've got a problem here. And she said, what's the problem? And I said, look at this. And she looked and she goes, what do you mean? And I go, there's not enough blue. And by the way, you can't have all the blue in the last quarter of the year. It's got to be balanced in each quarter. So when Holly talks about vacation time or even a weekend or 4 days together, you know, if you have a calendar and you've got it color coded, make sure that you're balanced with time together and time with your family. And that includes, my daughter lives in Miami, my son lives in North Carolina. So if I look up there and I see I'm not spending enough time with my daughter or my son, I've got to do something to balance that out.
Awesome.
Making you completely aware, right? It's just right in your face. Color coding the calendar. It goes to the simple bolds, which let's roll a little bit into that. John, why don't you share with us a bit about your journey? I personally remember you as, I believe it was a team leader in some masterminds, or maybe you were leading masterminds. And to watch where you've grown to the director of Bolds, I'd love for you to just share a bit about what that looked like for you.
Well, I spent 26 years in the grocery business, and then at 43 years old, I just decided there's got to be a better way. And the reason, it wasn't that I didn't love the grocery business. I was fascinated by it, loved it. It was mainly because I had a realtor and I was buying properties, and I was fixing them up and not really flipping them. I was holding them. And I was so impressed with this lady and the way that she was finding these properties for me and walking me through the transaction. She knew what I wanted and everything. And so she sold me 4 rental properties, and I was under 25 years old at the time. Wow. And so I was always fascinated by real estate. So I stayed in the grocery business until I was 43 years old, always thinking someday I might get my real estate license. fast forward many years later, 1998, 99, I got my real estate license in North Carolina. 2000, I started selling homes. 2004, I was a mega agent and absolutely loved it. 2004, 2005, 2006, started opening Keller Williams franchises because I love the model. And then Diana Kokoska at the time asked me if I would help coach OPs and team leaders. It's about the time I met Julie, and I started coaching OPs and team leaders around the country. And then I just always had a passion for real estate. I've always loved it, right? And then one day when the market shifted in 2008, if y'all remember, in October of 2008, we lost 44% of the real estate agents in the National Association of Realtors between 2008 and 2010. So we wrote a program in 2009 called Bold, and it required us to hit the road. That's when Holly said she had just moved to Asheville, North Carolina. And I go, well, we just wrote this program and we're going to hit the road, because there was only 5 of us at the time. And so the 5 of us hit the road and we started teaching Bold. And then fast forward 6 years ago, I was called by Mary Tennant, and Diana, and Gary, and they said, come to Austin and run the Bold program for the company. And so that's what led me to where I am today.
That is awesome. Grocery business.
Yeah,
And
loved it too.
How did you start buying houses at 25? Who told you you can go buy some houses at 25 years old?
There was a online TV infomercial, they called them back in the day. And it was how to buy a home with no money down. And it was Carlton. And he was just a genius back in the day. And I bought his program like so many people did. And he actually lived in Wilton Manors. He had properties at Wilton Manors, which was not too far from me. So when I bought the online course, I went and looked at some of the ads in the course to see if those properties really were there. And then I did some research on the tax rolls, and he actually owned those properties. I said, okay, well, this guy's the real Jill. And he said, if you look at 100 properties and you make offers on about 10, you'll get 1 accepted. And I did exactly what he taught me. And so I got 4 properties. Each year I'd get a different property.
Wow.
It got a lot easier though when I had a realtor helping me out.
Sure.
An infomercial.
John, your story, it just solidifies in my head, and this is off topic, Mary Beth, all the opportunities that are available for us, everyone on this call, our viewers on Facebook, through Keller Williams. And it just again makes me proud to be part of this company. John, this is going to be a 2-part question. I can't not ask a question that's on the chat right now, but I think it's going to lead me into the next question.
Sure.
John, what is the most impactful class that you have taken that has had an impact enough to change your life?
Well, I can't tell you it's an actual class. I can tell you the most impactful thing that's ever happened to me since I've been with Keller Williams was going to family reunion. I joined Keller Williams in 2004, and I went to family reunion in 2005, February. And so it was around October was my start date in Keller Williams. I had been talking to Keller Williams for about 3 months prior to that, and they were going to let me open a business center, and it was going to be a mega agent office at the time. And I wasn't going to join until I bought a building and I had my team move in it. I had about 8 people working for me at the time. So I went to family reunion, and that was the first time I saw all these instructors doing these breakout sessions. And I was just so impressed with them. And I had been teaching top producer around the country. So I had done a lot of teaching, and I was just so impressed. And I go, I've got to do this. I've got to be like, Gene Rivers. I got to be like Holly Perry at the time. And Holly was manning a booth for KW, and I walked up to her and I asked her, what's my journey? How do I do this? I know how to teach a little bit, and I've done a lot in Winn-Dixie in the grocery store business. How do I get on that path, right? And so Holly kind of took me under her wing, and she taught me everything. And
look what happened.
And fast forward, we're married. So that has to be the most impactful thing that's ever happened right there.
Yeah, I would say so.
I'm surprised you weren't her answer for what was the sweetest thing that came out of her lesson. I just love you guys.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to double end that question with how has Bold impacted you, John?
Well, I can tell you when Bold was first written, and if you go back to 2009 of June, We had about 27 students in that first class. And myself personally, teaching bold and the mindset pieces that are in there, every single week, it changes you. You start thinking different. Those bold laws that are right behind you, Julie, you become those bold laws. And you can ask Holly here. There's been periods of time in that 11-year track that I haven't gone out to teach bold. I'm doing other things, and I'm going to take a round or two off. And I mean, in one round of taking off, Holly will say, you need to go back into the classroom, start teaching. You are not living bold. And it happens. We slip away from it real quick. And you can see it with your own agents in your market center. If they take bold once a year, they'll change their mindset, and then they'll slip away, and then they get back into it. And those agents that take bold 2 or 3 times a year, minimum every year, you can see the difference in the way they think bigger, the way they accept other people, the way they come from contribution. It's no longer about the deal. It's about, helping people, right?
Yeah, that's awesome. Great. Thank you.
John, I have had the honor of that 2009 class. We had about 100, I believe it was 187 in the tri-state region. There were about 9 team leaders kind of joined forces, and we had this huge, amazing room. I believe Ron Poltowski and Kate were introduced to us at that time. Michael Ann Byerly was our amazing bold coach. And I have since taken it 11 times, all as a team leader. And I've watched it transform agent businesses. I've had huge success stories from agents that have come in, just got their license, and taking 16 listings in the course of those 8-9 weeks. So, and we've seen some large teams go from 100 contact days to 1,000 contact days because of the mind shift that happens in bold. I'm really excited about Bold Pivot, and I would love for you to speak a little bit to what Bold Pivot is. I understand that we all had to make a shift. We all had to pivot and change the way we're doing things. So it's my understanding that Bold is coming to us in May, and it's packaged a little differently. So can you speak a little bit to what Bold Pivot is?
Well, first of all, before I get started with that, let me just tell you where we were. We were about to 1 week away, just a little bit over 1 week away. We were about to launch the largest bold in the history of Keller Williams in March. Yep. And we had already had like 7,000 people sign up for it. And we would have gotten another, I don't know, probably another 1,500 or something that next week. And so when that didn't happen and we were all sequestered or told to stay at home, work out of our houses, whatever, it happened pretty quick. And, I want to give Gary Keller credit because he recognized this right away. And 6 weeks ago, yesterday, he shut down Keller Williams International office, said, everybody's going to start working from home. I don't want any of you guys to get sick. So what I did was initially Keller Williams International said, what we need to do is let's get the best and our top instructors, most well-known instructors, and let's do some live streaming and let's tell the agents what they need to do right now. Our shift page that we have, James Shaw, one of our bold coaches, did that with, he put that together initially, and then he worked with Jay at Keller Williams International, Jay Papazon. And so that has been a home run for us. Yet the field, meaning team leaders and OPs, through the direction of the agents, were saying, we need bold. Like all that training is wonderful and it was great. Yet they weren't seeing the results because without the accountability, the results don't quite follow. So then what happened was Gary called and he says, we need bold and we need it fast. And Gary really gets this vision of what bold does to our market center. So we went to work and we are still working on the final product of the digital version of Bold 2.0. And we're incorporating Gary's 4 pivot points. So that's what we're working on. Would you like for me to tell you what it's going to be like?
Yes, please.
I would love that. I would love that.
So first, if anybody's taking notes and you want to write this down, I know this call is being recorded. The first thing you understand, and Holly really pointed this out to me, if you look at the One Thing book, the MRA book, Shift book, Millionaire Real Estate Investor, they all start with mindset. If we don't have our mindset correct, we'll never do what we intend to do. So through Bold Pivot, through Bold 2.0, it's heavy emphasis. We're going to master the art of powerful service first, selling second conversations. We're going to reframe our limiting beliefs around what we can control and what we cannot control in these interesting times in which we're all in. So mindset's going to be every single week, every single session. We're going to talk about mindset. Where are you right now? Because remember, what's happening in New Jersey, New York, California, Miami, Florida, it's totally different, right?
Yeah.
Then we're going to talk about command. Now, Julie, I know you're really into command and you really understand the technology, and I know you've done some training with that. And, and I just know how important it is that we all get into that command database. So what we're going to do, we're going to have heavy emphasis on training through the Bold Pivot, as well as the fundamentals to gain leverage through the systems. So what we're going to do is we're going to teach you how to add to your database anywhere from 100, 200, 300 more quality relationships. The next thing we're going to do, the scripts that we're using are going to be completely changed because they're going to be the best scripts that agents can use right now during this shifted market of us staying home. Social media becomes more important than ever. So what we're going to do is we're going to learn how to share the top proven text messages as well as social media campaigns. Now, you've heard everybody talking about cut your expenses by 20% or 30%, right? So what we're going to do is give you specific steps on how to cut your expenses $300 to $600 a month. And by the way, what we're going to do is we're going to gamify this, and we're going to have a competition so that people can come on the calls and they can actually tell others how they've been able to do it. Now, the fourth bullet point that Gary Keller pointed out in his email to all of us at Keller Williams was said, double down on leads. So how do we do that? While coming from contribution, get digital with your clients through client events, through client open houses, through buyer and seller consultations and presentations. Because here's what we know, as Gary said, it's absolute certain that it will take more leads to accomplish your sales goal today than it did yesterday. It starts with time blocking, and we will show you exactly how to time block and how you set your own goals for how much business do you want to make and how many hours are you going to actually spend doing that.
Now I understand it. Huh? Well, I understand the schedule is 2 days a week they'll be engaged, and then 2 more days they'll have coaching opportunities.
Yeah, so when we planned it out, we said, what would it look like? So we found out that 1 to 3 p.m. Central Time is the very best time for any of us if we're going to do any kind of live streaming or any kind of events like that. So we picked Tuesdays and Thursdays starting in May. May 5th will be the first day. So it's 1 to 3 p.m. Central live streaming. We've selected 8 bold coaches that'll do the teaching of the 8 classes. It's all recorded. It'll be stored on Bold Pivot Facebook page. Then what we're going to do is on Wednesdays and Fridays, we're going to come back, and from 1 to 3, same time, we're going to have a coach's corner. And this is the opportunity, and it's optional, by the way, and it's the opportunity for anybody to call in on those 2 days for 2 hours, speak to an actual MAPS coach, really dive deep on the material that they've been learning the day before or 2 days before, and also the activities so that you can hit your goals. Then the third thing we've done is we put a Bold Pivot Facebook page together. We have over 8,000, I guess it's 8,700 on that page already.
Wow.
And so they have an opportunity to actually work with a bold coach. Now we have a bold coach present, 2 bold coaches present Monday through Saturday from 8 to 8. And what we do there is we answer questions. We have shared videos already there. Extra content is there. The student material to download is going to be there. And the greatest thing about it is the ability to mastermind with fellow like-minded students from around the country. As I said, if you live in New York City, your struggles are way different than they are in Miami, Florida, or in Oklahoma City. Mm-hmm. So this gives you the opportunity to network with people from your own area.
Well, thank you. Because as a team leader, no, honestly, as a team leader, this is amazing leverage.
Yeah.
To be able to know that our agents are taken care of the whole month of May for 4 hours, 8 hours of the week, they'll be plugged into a network, and then be able to keep those relationships it's one of the best things about Bold is the network that you create. And now for it to be digital now, I know your numbers are probably going to go through the roof. What are you expecting? How many registrants are you looking for?
It's funny, you hear some regional directors talking about it, and they're talking about 30,000 to 60,000. I set the goal maybe too low. I set the goal for 20,000, and we are on track to hit that 20,000. And so I will tell you this, the question comes up a lot, who should take Bold Pivot? This is the greatest opportunity that we've ever had, going from $799 to only $99. We're basically giving this away to help pay the Bold coaches a little money, and for all this equipment and technology that all the Bold coaches are spending. As we shelter at home, this is a huge opportunity to get our agents back into production. Both of you have taken Bold several times, I know, and you've heard on graduation day people say, I wish my husband would have taken this class. Or sometimes I wish my wife would have been here to take it. Well, this is the opportunity for you to get your wife, your husband, your son, your children, because of the mindset pieces. It's just going to be so important.
And Mary Beth too, I've heard him talk about this a lot. Don't forget the opportunity that you have here to invite agents from all companies, and not necessarily with recruiting in mind, but just to help them get through this period too. Our goal is to help all of our real estate community to make it through these challenging times. And this is a great opportunity, very inexpensive. They're opening it up to everyone, recruits and everyone.
Gary text messaged me last Saturday, and this is what he said to me, and I'll never forget these words. He said, right now, we're going to lead the industry by providing the best training at the lowest price possible. And here's what he said in his text message to me: service first, sales second is our mantra. Survive, then strive are the phases. Continue to be strong are our personal priorities. I just thought that was awesome.
That is awesome.
I'm with Gary.
Mary Beth, the other thing too that I've been hearing team leaders are going to do now, and John can explain this, the accountability is not quite the same, right?
Yeah, if you want to get your students, your agents to get the most out of it, you're going to have to partner with the Bold coaches. And this actually came from one of the team leaders. She says, well, if you've got 20,000 people on a call, how are you going to have the accountability? And if you don't have the accountability, will the numbers go up? We'll definitely be able to change their mindset, although there's not going to be fouls if they don't show up. And by the way, how do you check in 20,000 people, right?
Right.
So how's that all going to work? So one of the team leaders came up with this idea. They're going to break up. Let's say you got, let's say you had 50 people from your market center. And let's say those 50 people were going to be taking a Bold Pivot. The team leader is going to divide them up into groups of 10 per team. So you'd have 5 teams. And then the team leader is going to ask them to report the numbers to them. And then the team leader is going to have a 1-hour session after the 2-hour session to make sure everybody understands what the activities or the homework is going to be. And then the team leaders are going to be the partners with us to make sure the agents are following through.
I love it. So basically the team leader is becoming the team captain. And I've always believed that a great team captain makes sure that there's text messages going out to the group, has them on an email chain. And now with today, we can have our own private Zoom to follow up, because once again, it's great leverage for a team leader and a market center. So if you're able to do that for us, then we can rally the troops afterwards.
Yeah, that's what I think would be best practice for sure.
Absolutely. And John, you made some really great points there. Reasons or results, you can't have both, right?
That's right.
So, you either going to choose to stay in the business and on the out of this, you're going to thrive, or unfortunately, we are going to lose some. And we just hope that our message here today touched some people to maybe take a little step forward rather than kind of get comfortable. I did hear somebody say, comfortable is the killer of productivity.
Isn't that so true?
and it's not time to be comfortable.
Now, John,
Yeah.
and I know do you guys have time for one more question, John?
Sure.
Who should take both? You know, I've heard people say, oh, you know, we just took it in January, or, you know, we're going to be super busy come May, once this ends, because they have a crystal ball and know it's ending. But who should take it?
Anybody that wants to make more money, anybody that wants to perfect their presentation skills by doing listing presentations via the internet versus actually being in somebody's home, anybody that wants to do an open house. And I realize parts of the country, you can't do some of these things yet. However, by the second week of May, I really believe some parts of the country are going to start opening up, and then eventually more, and eventually more, and then eventually the whole country, right? So as it starts to unfold, you're still going to be doing this digital type of open house or client events or whatever it may be. If you want to be more efficient with working from home, like shelter at home market that we're in,
That's right.
if you'd like to learn how to set up your home office to be more effective, if you'd like to take market share right now, because you've got so many companies out there basically told their agents, you know, hey, just hang tight, stay in, stay safe. You know, this is going to pass and we'll get back out there. Here's our opportunity, Keller Williams, to take market share right now. That's who should take bold.
So basically you're saying any realtor who has not been through a pandemic.
And by the way, it's not just Keller Williams agents. It's Keller Williams leaders. It's non-Keller Williams agents.
Vendors.
It's vendors. It's gosh, we've already gotten. By the way, worldwide, Keller Williams worldwide, we have 145 people as of this morning signed up from all over. I mean, from London, from South Africa, from Vietnam, from Portugal, from Spain, from Mexico. The list just goes on and on. I mean, our people from worldwide, this is the first opportunity for them to take bold, and they're just starting to just pour into it.
Wow. Good point. Wow. It's a big perspective there, John. So actually this pivot that we're making, this mind shift that we've had to this recreation has actually been able to expand the program, and more people can take it because of this pandemic. So think about that, how we look at things and the things you look at change. This is really opening up an amazing opportunity for our industry. So thank you for being so passionate about bringing it to us.
Well, listen, thank you guys for inviting Holly and me. This was really fun for us to do this together. So thank you. We don't get this much time. Usually we got 10 minutes to do everything that you just did. We have 10 minutes to do it. So we talk a lot faster when that happens.
Well, Julie, anything you want to close with?
We so appreciate your time. Viewers, if you haven't done the second poll, please go ahead and make sure we get your numbers. We just want to see if who's on board. I know I am.
Yeah. So John, just while Julie's getting those numbers, how does somebody get signed up? What website could they go to? How can they register today?
Yeah, thank you for asking. So go to www.mapscoaching.com. That's Maps Coaching, M-A-P-S, coaching.com. And right at the top of the website is going to be a banner, and it rotates. So if it's not quite there, just wait a second and it's going to come back. Click on the banner, and it says Bold Pivot, register right here. And you can do that. Now, by the way, guys, please don't wait until May 5th, because the coaching is already started as of 2 weeks ago on the Bold Pivot Facebook page. And we've uploaded all kinds of videos, all kinds of scripts, all kinds of text messages and stuff. And it's being manned by Bold coaches right now. So the coaching already started 2 weeks ago. So take advantage of that right away.
Awesome.
I know this is a bold statement, but I do want to let anybody know that is watching, if you have a challenge of getting yourself into Bold at $99, please reach out to Julie or myself. We will make sure that there is a way that you will get into the Bold program. I am that committed to this program. I know that this is a solution to get you through these times. So reach out to Julie and I if you cannot get yourself there.
One quick thing, Holly just pointed out, I forgot to say it. When you go to register, guys, it's going to ask you, what is your market center number and what is your region? And we're having a lot of people not knowing their region or not knowing their market center So if you guys want to tell your market centers, I know we have a lot of people on from different market centers. If you want to just tell yours in the region, that would be great.
We are with Region 27, New York Tri-State, and our market center is 1120. Now, if they're not part of a market center, do they just put NA?
If they're not part of a market center, like they're a guest and they would like to sign up, have them get in touch with you guys and let the leadership make the decision and help them get registered if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And for our viewers, both on our Facebook Live and here, the registration links are in the comments and in the chat. So you could just click on that, make it super easy and get registered. I think, I don't know about you, Mary Beth, but I'm really excited, and I'm excited to help agents change their lives and ours as well.
That's right.
Y'all are wonderful. We love you guys. We appreciate you guys, and we'll see you on the live stream.
Yes,
Thank
you
you.
will. Bye-bye.
Guys.
Bye, everybody.
Love ya. Mwah.